Okay, so I need to address something real quick before I go any further with this video. The thing I want to address is many manga readers apparently complaining about the pacing of the latest episode of Made in Abyss. Now, I'm just going to say right now that I just want to say something very clear that I have seen for years now when it comes to anime adaptations. Usually, when a series is slow-paced, that's actually kind of a good thing, because that means that you're gonna get a proper adaptation. I mean, I've seen cases to where slow pacing is done and they probably change things around a bit, but they still show it. Overall, though, I think we should all appreciate slow pacing compared to fast pacing, to where it rushes to the end content and you're like, oh, I can't enjoy it, I can't connect to these characters, or there wasn't enough exposition for whatever's going on right now for this arc. I'd rather have slow pacing and get to know characters and understand what's going on in the world, with the world building and all of that, than have everything rushed to only good moments. I don't want that. And so I just want to completely address something real quick. Those manga readers that are complaining about this episode, I've been seeing it a lot on Twitter and all that, we all need to appreciate the fact that it is slow-paced, because it could be fast-paced, and it could be rushing through all the content, and you couldn't enjoy the series, and it wouldn't be one of the best series of Summer of Anime 2017. So with that being said, just chill and enjoy the ride of Made in Abyss, because so far it showed that's a very good series, and it's got me on board. I'm loving the anime, what I'm seeing. And another thing as well I want to kind of nail in, when I was watching this episode, it didn't really feel fast-paced or slow-paced to me. It felt perfect. It felt like it was a perfect episode when it came to the pacing, because there was just so much going on. It wasn't probably as action-packed or a lot of information like the previous episodes, obviously, but this episode had a lot of build-up, and it kind of hinted at things that you could expect from the future, and there once again was another goodbye in this episode, once again kind of building up the fact that the Abyss is kind of like a place of no return. When you go down there, many expect you to probably die and never come back up. And in this case, the episode focused on a goodbye again. And then you had the world building, finding out about this creature and all that, that it can only have this certain area of territory and it won't be able to leave it, to, you know, also seeing how Reg and Rico, they were slowly going down, you know, the Abyss, and they talked about how the sky is so bright and all that. Just these little things make the immersion of Made in Abyss so much more. And I think many of us can agree we can appreciate the series when it builds up the characters, builds up the world, because if it rushed to a very good moment, obviously manga readers are probably going to be very happy, but the anime onlys are going to be like, fuck this shit, I don't care about this shit, there wasn't proper build-up, why should I care about this character when I didn't even get the proper character development? You know, that's what I'm getting at. So we should appreciate what we got, and I think it was a good episode. And honestly, I didn't think it was slow, and I didn't think it was fast here. I thought it was just a perfectly paced episode. But anyways, let me get on to, you know, the main point of this episode. So one of the big things that stand out I noticed when I was watching this episode is the foreshadowing at the beginning with Rico and Reg. Now, we see them wake up from a nap and all that, and we see how Reg has figured out a way to kind of keep them safe. You see how he's put these arms all around in this little area to where if anyone was to touch his arms, he can detect someone's trying to come in, he can wake up, and then he could try to save them. So for instance, like a creature wanders in trying to eat them, basically he would figure out, oh, something's coming in, he'll wake up, he'll stop. And that's basically what he was trying to do, or what he was doing at the beginning of the episode. And so that kind of led into the next scene to where they needed food. And this is a very real aspect when it comes to trying to travel and adventure down into unknown places. Because even though you're trying to see the pieces of the world that's never been explored before, you still need to eat. You can't go adventuring on an empty stomach. You're going to need to eat. You're going to have to figure out a way to hunt, cook, get water for yourself. These are all major things you need if you're going on a journey. And in this case, we have it to where Rico, she needs to eat. She needs to sleep. And so there's going to be points to where she needs to rest. And so I like the real aspect of this series, especially showcasing that the characters, even though they're adventuring, is not just about that. They need to showcase that they need to eat. They need to stop. They need to rest. They need to watch out for predators coming to try to eat them. This is a land unknown. Not many people survive here. Not many people can come down here. So you need to be aware of what's all around you. I just like these little subtle things that were built up throughout the episode, showing that it's like we are journeying with these characters. These characters, they don't know what to expect. They don't know what is coming. They don't know what awaits them as they go lower and lower into the abyss. They have no idea. And as they're journeying down into the abyss, figuring out new things, the world is unknown to them, and when they find out new stuff, it's like we are learning alongside them, which makes the journey of this series so much greater, because you're able to appreciate when a character understands something or they find out something. You're like, holy shit, they're finding out about this creature while we're finding out about this creature, and it's like we're all gaining the exact same knowledge at the same time, and it's a nice way to do an adventure series. So I do appreciate Made in Abyss for that. But getting back into the main topic though, after the food, Yamato Riko, she has this little device, this little tool that apparently came from the abyss, and this tool kind of points down, straight directly down in the abyss, like where the bottom is, and it's discussed that there's no real idea of how this works. Like, we don't really know why this device points straight down, and no matter how you turn it, you could throw it up in the air and it still wouldn't move. The little arrow would not move at all, wouldn't shift, it wouldn't even budge barely at all. So because of that, we know that there's some weird force at work, most likely something to do with the abyss. Now, we don't necessarily know. It could be something like, you know, magnetism and gravity and all that. We don't really know, but this world is very unknown. The abyss is very unique, and we know there's the curse of the abyss. So because of that, we don't know exactly what is really making this orb that Riko had just point straight down. Regardless, though, the big thing about that is what Riko said, which was foreshadowing. She's like, everything that comes from the abyss will eventually go back to the abyss. And that is very, very, very poetic when you think about it, because Riko, as we know, she came from the abyss, and so did Reg, because he's a humanoid robot boy that we don't really know. He possibly came from the very bottom. He might have been, you know, a human at one point, but he was definitely modified down below. We can definitely see that. And so when he came out of the abyss, and him coming back, if he was to die, basically he is returning to the abyss. That is exactly what that quote was meaning. So it will, you know, take back life. Once it gives life, it will take it back when you go into the abyss. You will return the life that you were given. And that's basically implying that Riko and Reg will die in the abyss. Like, their end of their journey will definitely be death in the abyss. So it adds that eerie tone to the scene. I don't know exactly if that's what the writer was implying, however, that's what I got from the scene. So anyways, let's move on to the cave diver that was able to catch up to Riko and Reg. So this dude, we've already kind of met in the previous episodes. He was the one that gave, you know, Riko, you know, her mother's whistle, and we found out a little bit more information about her and her backstory and all that. Well, this dude, he catches up to them, and he wasn't there to actually bring Riko back at all, or Reg. He was just there to kind of help them down to the second lair, which Riko kind of says, no, we can't have your help at all. The reason for it is because this is our final test from the leader, and if you were to help us, it's like we're cheating, and we're not going through the proper trials to get down below. It would kind of feel like it just wouldn't have the same meaning. So Riko turns away the dude and basically goes about going down to the next lair without help at all, which they eventually do make it to the second lair at the end of the episode. Riko didn't want him to help them out and all that, or show them tricks or the way down easier. She wanted to do it by herself with Reg. So very nice stuff there in that regard, showing that Riko wants to learn on her own. She doesn't want people just showing her the proper path all of the time. Now, another thing, too, we need to discuss is the fact that the series so far, once again, it's not necessarily dark yet, but judging by how the series has been setting up so much, it's very clear something bad will happen. I don't know what, but I could definitely see one of these two characters, Reg or Riko, dying. I could definitely see that. I could definitely see one of these characters probably dying before everything is said and done, because as they continue going down the lairs and all that, basically, it's just a matter of time till something very bad happens. I mean, Lair 2, it's basically implied that it's unknown territory. You have beasts that are, you know, going to be hunting after them and all that, and nobody barely survives when they go very far down into the abyss. And so as they continue to dive deeper and deeper, it's going to get worse and worse, and it's going to become more and more dangerous. So I'm very curious to see exactly what will happen and when the dark stuff does finally pop up for Made in the Abyss. So, good series. Very good series. I've enjoyed what I've seen thus far, and I can't wait to see more. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.